The disappearance at the Royal Melbourne Show. Tamara Milograd was 15 years old when she disappeared on a spring day in September 1971. She had attended the Royal Melbourne Show in Victoria, Australia, bustling, family-friendly event filled with rides, animals, and crowds, but never returned home. Her family lived in Newport, a suburb in Melbourne's southwest. That night, when Tamara failed to come back, her mother and siblings immediately began searching. Calls were made to police, friends were contacted, and the streets were walked over and over. No one had seen her. The investigation turned up little. There were no signs of a struggle, no items left behind, and no communication from Tamara herself. She had seemingly vanished without a trace. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into years, her case grew colder. Authorities found no viable leads. Posters were put up, media appeals were made. Still, there was nothing. Tamara's siblings Eugene, Luba, and Nick never gave up. Over the decades, they continued to raise awareness, hoping someone, somewhere, knew something. In 2010, nearly 40 years after the disappearance, they once again publicly appealed for answers. But by then Tamara's name had faded from the public consciousness, reduced to an unsolved entry on missing persons lists. Her mother, even in her 90s, remained hopeful. She had no confirmation of death, no closure, just the aching absence of her daughter. The Royal Melbourne Show had once been a place of joy for the Milograd family. After 1971, it became a symbol of unanswered questions. For 44 years, the disappearance of Tamara Milograd remained one of Victoria's enduring cold cases, silent, unresolved, and deeply personal for the family that never stopped searching. A daughter's quiet search. Who was Pauline? In 1976, Pauline Tammy Russell died in a car accident in country Victoria. She left behind 2 young children, including a daughter named Corrina Russell. Corrina grew up with fragmented memories of her mother and a lingering sense that something about her background didn't add up. Family details were scarce, and questions about her mother's past often went unanswered or deflected. As Corrina entered adulthood, her curiosity deepened. She wondered about her mother's origins, where she came from, who her family was, and why so little was known. In March 2015, while browsing the National Missing Persons Coordination Centre website, Corrina's attention froze on a black-and-white photograph. The missing girl, listed as Tamara Milograd, looked almost identical to the few photos Corrina had of her mother, Pauline. The resemblance was unsettling. Same facial structure, same expression. Driven by instinct and an overwhelming desire for truth, Corrina contacted the police. She explained the similarities and voiced her suspicion that her mother and the missing girl could be the same person. What began as a quiet personal search turned into something far larger. Corrina didn't know it at the time, but her discovery would unravel one of Australia's longest-standing missing persons mysteries. Her emotional journey from a daughter with vague questions to a central figure in a decades-old investigation would ultimately bridge 2 families and rewrite the story of Tamara Milograd's life. Corrina's moment of recognition wasn't just a chance resemblance. It was the catalyst that would unlock answers long buried in time. Her call reignited a dormant case, setting in motion the forensic and emotional steps needed to uncover the truth behind her mother's hidden identity. Breaking the case, the DNA connection. After Corrina Russell contacted authorities with her suspicion, cold case detectives at Victoria Police reopened the decades-old file on Tamara Milograd. Corrina's belief that her late mother, Pauline Tammy Russell, might actually be the long-missing teenager sparked renewed interest. Investigators turned to DNA, using cutting-edge forensic tools unavailable during the original investigation. detectives obtained Corrina's DNA and compared it with that of Nick Milograd, Tamara's surviving brother. The analysis relied on family matching techniques, methods proven effective in disaster victim identification, such as those used after the Black Saturday bombing. The comparison would determine whether Corrina and Nick shared a close biological relationship, thereby confirming if Tamara and Pauline were the same person. The results were clear and conclusive. The DNA profiles matched. Corrina Russell was biologically linked to the Milograd family. Tamara Milograd had survived her disappearance, changed her identity, and lived out the rest of her short life as Pauline Tammy Russell. The missing persons mystery that had stretched over for decades was finally solved, not through new witness testimony or confessions, but through the science of genetics. Investigators learned that Tamara had added 3 years to her birth date and relocated to rural Victoria, where she lived quietly and gave birth to 2 children. The discovery stunned both families. It resolved years of painful uncertainty, but also revealed the tragic truth that Tamara had died young, in a car accident, just 5 years after vanishing. This breakthrough was not just a victory for forensic science, but a deeply emotional moment for the people left behind. DNA, often used to identify the dead, had now revealed the hidden path of a life once thought lost and brought long-awaited closure to an enduring mystery. Tamara's secret life. As Pauline Tammy Russell, after vanishing at the age of 15, Tamara Milograd reappeared under a new identity. Pauline Tammy Russell. She altered her date of birth, making herself appear 3 years older, and started over in rural Victoria. How she managed this transformation, or why she felt compelled to do so, remains unknown. No official records exist to explain what transpired during the 5-year gap between her disappearance in 1971 and her documented death in 1976. What is known is that under her new name, Pauline gave birth to 2 children. She settled in a quiet area, built a modest life, and seemed to leave her past completely behind. There are no indications that she ever contacted her biological family or hinted at her true identity to those around her. It appears she lived in isolation from her former self, concealing her origins from everyone, even her own children. Pauline Tammy Russell died in a car accident in 1976, ending her life at just 20 years old. Without the benefit of modern DNA tools, no one at the time connected her to the girl who had gone missing years earlier. Her brief adult life left behind little trace, and her true identity remained buried until decades later. This section presents the known facts of her life as Pauline. While her motivations remain a mystery, the choices she made shaped a separate family legacies, one that grieved for a lost daughter, and another that searched for a missing past. Reunion. After 44 years, 2 families united. The DNA confirmation that Tamara Milograd and Pauline Tammy Russell were the same person brought long-awaited answers to grieving families. For the Milograds, it ended a 44-year search marked by sorrow, confusion, and the enduring hope that Tamara might still be alive. For Corrina Russell and her family, it revealed a hidden lineage they had never known existed. Tamara's mother, then in her 90s, finally learned the truth. Though heartbroken to confirm that her daughter had died decades earlier, she found comfort in knowing that Tamara had lived long enough to have children, and that she was now a grandmother and great-grandmother. The knowledge provided a bittersweet form of closure, validating years of unwavering hope and prayer. Corrina was embraced by the Milograd family as their own. She met Tamara's siblings Eugene, Luke, and Nike, who welcomed her not just as a connection to their sister, but as family in her own right. The reunion brought together people who had lived parallel lives, unknowingly connected by blood and divided by circumstance. a formal family gathering was held to honor Tamara's memory and acknowledge the journey that had brought them together. Emotions ran high: grief, joy, disbelief, and gratitude, all intertwined. Together, the families issued a public statement expressing both their sadness and their relief at finally learning the truth. For the first time in over 4 decades, the question of what happened to Tamara had an answer. While the pain of her absence remained, the mystery no longer haunted them. In its place stood a shared story, one of loss, reunion, and the quiet resilience of families who never stopped searching. Legacy of the case. The role of DNA databases. The resolution of Tamara Milograd's disappearance marked a turning point for cold case investigations in Victoria. At the heart of this breakthrough was the Victorian Missing Persons DNA database, a resource that didn't exist when Tamara vanished in 1971, but proved vital in identifying her decades later. The database enabled authorities to connect people across time, place, and generations using genetic evidence alone. According to Dr. Dadna Hartman of the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, the same forensic tools once used to identify victims in national tragedies, such as the Black Saturday bushfires, were now solving long-dormant missing persons cases. By applying family matching techniques and expanding the DNA reference library, investigators could revisit unresolved cases with fresh eyes and advanced tools. Without the database and the cooperation of Tamara's brother, Nick, and daughter, her identity might have remained lost forever. The case underscored the power of collaboration between families, scientists, and detectives to bring closure to even the oldest mysteries. It also highlighted the growing importance of maintaining comprehensive, accessible DNA resources to assist in future cases. Tamara's story became more than a personal tragedy. It became a case study in forensic success. It showed that no matter how much time passes, the truth can still emerge. Her identification after 44 years served as a beacon of hope for other families waiting in silence, and a testament to how science continues to bridge the gap between absence and understanding.